Morning. I've recently been breaking down a hop field network for my personal project and trying to learn everything about it, like all the details, where everything is gonna go. And I've just I've basically just been learning everything about it. So I just questions just hit me as I go along, and I just have more questions. So we're gonna jump in. So I also wanted to talk about AI. So it's been like, okay, so I've been using AI. I obviously, so Hopfield Network is AI. It's not the same type of AI as ChatGPT, but it is AI. Okay, I think a lot of people don't know, like, I didn't know every single type of AI that there was. So to me, ChatGPT was AI. Like, I just thought that everything was like that, and it's not. First of all, a lot of them are much simpler and just operate significantly differently. That's the first thing. The second thing is I wanted to talk about this because I saw a YouTube short today about somebody who wrote a whole script for a movie using AI. The movie sounded abysmal, but they did it, and they like got actors to play it, and then they were going to put it in theaters, and people complained so much that the cinemas like didn't show it, which like I'm super for that. It's been like complex because I was like a true AI hater. I didn't like the idea of AI. I was like, everyone's gonna get lazy and it's stupid and all this. I had like a lot of qualms about it. I still don't like everything about it that much. I won't lie to you. I don't pay for the premium version of this. I literally this whole project I've been doing it on free. Okay, so the reason that I went into this and decided to use AI, like I'll link a video up here that's like my first time even starting this project. And like I had to make the conscious decision that I would do this. I was being really severely impacted by a gap in science on dissociative amnesia and trauma and everything. As a survivor of, sexual trauma, I was really struggling with that gap. And I had a lot of information in my body about how this disorder worked, and I really wanted to understand myself, and I wanted to understand like how does this disorder work so that I can heal and I can feel valid and I was like I would like it would change my life so much if I were to be able to get this science for like it would change the lives of survivors. It would change like so much, right? And I actually so I wasn't an undergrad, like I didn't do undergrad in neuroscience. I'm not doing my master's in neuroscience at all, okay? But I was starting to get really interested in it. Again, I'm gonna link little videos up top if anyone's like interested for some reason. So I have a video where I show all the things that before AI was even being like a thing, I was like or anything at all. And before I thought at all like I'm gonna go into neuroscience, like I never thought that, but I was writing stuff and then it turned out a lot of it turned out to be accurate. So I was really interested in how my mind worked and everything, right? And I really wanted to do neuroscience like as my future, but the problem is that I didn't get my degree in it in undergrad, so I didn't know like where to go from there. I tried to apply to different programs. I tried to apply to neuroscience programs. I even tried to apply to psychology programs that were a bit more adjacent to like trauma and stuff, but I was rejected, which I figured would happen because why would a neuroscience program accept a comparative literature and society student, except for the fact that I mentioned that I had lived experience of mental health, right? So at that point, this was around the time I was starting my project that I was getting rejected from things. And I already by then I had to try to apply to one program where I had to write a proposal, like a project proposal. And at that point, I had done some research on my own theories and stuff. And I had been reading neuroscience books and I was just generating ideas myself. Like I had like hunches and I had things that I was like, okay, this is like, I think it would be like this or this and that. I started to read papers and I started to have like hunches, right? So, and I found something I thought was really, really promising. Like I read a paper on something called sharp wave ripples, and I was like, this is really, I think this would be it. Like this seems really promising for my disorder, but I wasn't able to get into any program, right? So at that point, I was like, I'm kind of in an awkward spot because I really feel strongly that like I should do this, that this is something important and but I didn't have I was like I didn't get it. There's no way for me to get into a program right now, and it would take me like a decade to get to the point where anybody would approve me to write this to do this project, okay? because it would take, I was getting a sense of what it would take. I was like, okay, I'd get my master's in psychology because I got into a like a conversion degree program, so program for people that had never taken psychology in undergrad but were interested in it. So I that's the master's program I'm in now. So I was like, I would have to do master's program in psychology. And then I didn't think I was going to be able to do this paper at all or anything. So I was like, I'd have to figure out some alternative form of some like little touch of a something to get myself there. Then I was like, where do I go from there? Do I apply for a neuroscience master's degree program? Would a PhD program even accept me? And this was my other challenge, was that dissociative disorders, like, they were very controversial. Everyone would always tell me dissociative disorders are very controversial. So even though I was struggling with symptoms of that and everything, like I was like, I can't find, like, I tried to do research. I was like, I'm not finding anybody in my general area, or like it's very difficult to find people working with dissociative disorders specifically. Like, I couldn't find anybody at my university per se, because people weren't working with dissociative disorders as much, because I think partly they were very controversial. So people were focusing their resources and attention on things that weren't controversial, that could, somebody could make a difference on them. So I was like, I was in a really awkward spot. That's when I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself the free pass to use ChatGPT and to use AI the way that I need to, being conscious of like all the different pitfalls I could fall into, right? I mean, I had my own pride. So I was like, I didn't like the idea that it was going to do it for me, and it hasn't. Like, I'm going to talk about all that. I didn't like the idea of like being academically dishonest. Like, I was very careful about how I used it. I didn't want, like, I'm very, like, I care a lot. I remember back when I was an undergrad, when ChatGPT was first starting to be more like widely accessible, we had to do a project on art history, and I got really annoyed because this girl in my project started throwing stuff in from, she was using ChatGPT at every single point without like consulting us, but I could see she was doing it. Like, I saw over her shoulder, and she was like making up a title with I'm like, you don't need to make a title with ChatGPT. We can make up a title. Like, that's the easiest part of the project. She was making up a title. She was doing this, and we actually turned in the assignment. Each of us worked on different parts, and our teacher got back to us, was like, hey, somebody like use, I'm not gonna like fail you guys, but somebody here use ChatGPT. These are the parts, like, please tell me what everybody in the project did, and like, please, whoever did it, like, fix it, because we can't, like, that's not right, right? Luckily, I hadn't worked that, I was working on a whole different part of our project, so it had nothing to do with me. I would never, like, even to this day, I'll accept mid grades over using ChatGPT on my papers. I don't use it. I've been making mid grades for my entire master's program, okay, because I've been really busy working on this, right? And so I don't think that I don't think AI should be used in an academically dishonest way. But the thing is that I didn't have a teacher to ask questions to. I didn't have a supervisor. I didn't have classes. I didn't have money for classes. I was working as a nanny and everything. Like, I was in a tiny little apartment. Like, I didn't have the resources. So I was like, this is like the tool that I have right now, where I can go and I can ask questions and I can do all this, because I was like, there's so many things that are basically holding me back from demonstrating that I have a lot of potential in something that, like, I'm not going to be able to get to unless I do it like this. Because I was like, I'm a girl, and like, girls are a little bit less, you know what I mean? There's like less women in STEM. I'm working on something that has to do with survivors, with an experience that survivors had that was stigmatized. So I was like, there's not, there's already a stigma there as well for the experience that I'm trying to study. But even if it would make like a massive impact on survivors, like, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, there was already that barrier. There's the barrier of not finding people to work with dissociative, like, work with on this, or like work under, because of the stigma that I was trying to do like research on. So I was like, there's just genuinely no other way, and I just saw it as an opportunity to ask questions. And you can see in all my videos, you can see me asking questions on things that the average, like, maybe a bachelor's or master's would know, like asking about interneurons, how does this work, how does acetylcholine work. And I also, what I would do is I jumped into reading papers from the beginning. Like, I'll link videos up top, like I said, and I would read papers, and I would find a spot where I was like, I think this is right, and I think this is important. And I would take the piece of the paper, and I'd be like, can you break this piece down for me, like, a little bit simpler, so I can understand, like, if my hunch is right. And those are the ways that I used it, because I was like genuinely a novice, and I didn't know, like, I was like, I genuinely feel like this would do so much for survivors, and I genuinely feel like this would do so much for people's conditions. But And the thing is that I was like, I think one conversation that I'm like it really sparked within myself. I was like, how relevant, how important, and how good of an experience it is to have lived experience. Because I was like, yeah, I don't have like an undergrad, but I've been severely mentally ill for like my entire college time. Like, think how much information I accumulated about mental illness and about this stigmatized disorder. And like, I'm still struggling with PTSD. Like, that's such good information. And I was trying to put that on my applications, and like, it wasn't translating. So I'm like, I have a wealth of knowledge. I'm like a I'm like a bank of knowledge here of this really stigmatized disorder, but nobody is taking that seriously as like, I'm like, I'm trapped with like so much knowledge, but nobody to actually flesh the knowledge out. So that's why I was like, I'm in such an awkward position because obviously I'm doing something really advanced on a disorder that nobody knew what to do anything about. It's like I have the information because I lived it. Like I could see, okay, my memories come up more at night. Okay, during like this, I didn't recover memories until like these conditions happened. So I have like all of this information, but it's like it just didn't translate into like an academic format. So that's why I was really struggling because I'm like, I think that route of like, okay, little piece by little piece. Now you're gonna work under someone. Now you're gonna do this. Like it works really well when you don't when you're going in just with pure passion and you're learning about mental illness through like a book, but it's like it doesn't work as well when I'm like I have like PhD level knowledge of mental illness. I just don't have PhD level knowledge of neuroscience. So it's like that was like kind of the gap, and it was really tough. And so I did make the decision to start using ChatGPT, but to use it, with intentionality, like use it responsibly. And I learned a lot about AI along the way as well. So I learned what it could do and what it couldn't do. It has a lot of limitations still, and I'm sure it's going to get better, but I was like, it can't, like, it didn't come up with this for me at all. I'm telling you, like, it does not have that type of depth of information. Like, it took a lot of like, okay, what's my experience? How do I feel? I read so many papers. Like I had to read a lot of papers for this. I've read probably by now over like definitely 80 to 100. I think by now around 100 papers I must have read. I've spent hundreds of hours on this. It wasn't like I was like, hey, ChatGPT, tell me how does dissociative amnesia work? If you ask ChatGPT that, it can't make novel stuff up. Like all it can do is like we can ask it right now. You see, so it's not saying absolutely anything about sharp wave ripples, like straight up. It's telling me stuff that is in papers. It's not saying anything about sharp wave ripples. It's not saying anything about acetylcholine. That's my own paper. That's all my information. So I couldn't just ask it like, hey, like give me a theory of how dissociative amnesia works. Like it's not gonna do what I did because that took a lot of reading. You see, so it's not like I think that's the stuff that I learned that I was like, it's so important to have like a unique perspective because all ChatGPT can do is take like stuff that it already knows from other people to like recreate something where it's like what I'm doing is like very, very different. Like I learned about neuromodulators, I learned about pyramidal neurons, and I learned about the hippocampus and the rhinocortex. I learned like a lot of really complex stuff. And I had to have my own creativity. Like there's just zero way. So yeah, and like even if you ask ChatGPT to write a movie for it, the movie that this person wrote, it was like write me a movie about how AI can write better than the screenplay writer. It was so lame. I'm gonna link it below because I think it's like it needs like the link of shame because it was like the lamest sounding movie I ever heard in my life. And I was like, I would never watch this. But I'm like the thing like actual real cinema that you watch in the theaters, like it's so rich and there's just like a touch of like the real human condition and these sort of unique situations that you don't see like I'm thinking of a movie like Nacho Libre or something, right? I don't know, like that's kind of a random choice, but it was like, how did you think of that? And it's about this real world, like, um, Mexican wrestler, and then you have, it's like a funny movie, and it's just like it's so funny and random, and then it's like, there's like the deep moments and stuff, and then AI just can't do that. It can't do that at all. I think even the most expert of experts, like if someone's telling you that, they must have like the emotional depth of like a shrimp, to be honest with you, if they're trying to act like it can write something as unique as a human being, like no. Um, because it really can't. And I found myself like overwriting or correcting ChatGPT in my head plenty, even as a novice, of like, okay, yeah, you're saying this, but I think that actually, like, I have other theories that I'm going to include in my paper. I'm like, I think that even with it saying this and that, like, I have my own opinion and stuff. And like, I think that's what's really important is that I only use this because I was like, I just feel like it's worth it for the world for survivors to have this because especially right now, given everything survivors are going through, I was like, I just feel like it's important. And obviously, I would have rather learned everything like in school. I actually all the time really wish that I had like more time to converse more with people about my project because I feel very overwhelmed sometimes. Like doing this on my own has been very overwhelming and like I'm like I want to ask more questions. I want to like, and it's just kind of hard to not be in an environment where I'm like really, I'm doing like this really legitimate thing and I have like support. It's been really tough, but I've done it because I've been thinking about like how good this paper is right now for like my my level. That's how bad the trauma was for me. That's how bad it felt for me. Like for me to go this far and for me to have put this much effort into something that like I just genuinely like, I didn't know at all and to wake up every day even when it's tough, even when no one's paying me, even when no one's asking me for it, even if it's not like, it wasn't for a grade for months and months and months, like that's how much it hurt to go through what I went through and like that's how much it hurts to like that's how much it hurt to be be a survivor and feel like nobody was listening to me. Like I wouldn't have gone to this depth of like this level. Like I've sacrificed a lot. My social life like has been incredibly like basically non-existent this whole project. I stopped working out even though I like work out a lot usually. And I got really sedentary. I basically my whole life has been masters and this and like a few things here and there. Like I sacrificed a lot for this and put hundreds of hours into it. Like it's not like an AI thing, So um and I would have rather worked on this with like an actual expert or taken a class, but I just like I'm like I can't make it to a class until this is done. I'm like, "Oh, I love this and I feel like I really can do this my whole life, but like I can't convince anybody of that unless I do this, you get me? Or it's gonna take me a long time and a lot of money." So yeah, I just wanted that like out there when people like in this whole thing I've used AI, but like I'm not using I use it to ask questions that I would ask a teacher or like a supervisor because I would have rather had one, but I just didn't happen that way and I just thought it was important enough. And also, like, I know that ChatGPT is not the most sustainable, but I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't think that the water usage and stuff is worth it for stuff like slot movies and for directors to be lazy and screenwriters to be lazy and stuff. And like, I don't think it's worth for example, ruining the job market for I don't none of that is worth the water usage. But I was like, I think that changing the lives of how survivors navigate the justice system, the kind of access they have to care and the kind of access that they have to being believed in the justice system and all that. I was like, I feel like it's worth the water usage. Personally, I was like, and I don't use it too much in my own life. I'm not like making pictures or making it write my paper. Everything I wrote, like I wrote myself. Trust, like you can see how many videos I have and all of those videos are crunched down versions of hours and hours of work. And then I also work on it on the side when I'm not in those videos. So like trust this took like a lot of work and stuff. Yeah, so I just was like I think that the water usage is worth it for this. And I think that AI is obviously changing medicine drastically and changing the kind of science we can make. And I think AI is going to be continue to be here. And I do think that it's going to be a great tool for science and probably change medicine quite a lot. I don't think that it's worth it for everything. And it makes me upset. I think the scary part is just that the people who own these AI companies are people who are very money greedy, like a lot of them. And they don't really care about like, the good of the world a lot of the times. I think that they're more focused on making like money. So that's a problem is that like obviously there's a lot of different places where it's like, there's complications and I know people are we're dealing with like things like AI psychosis and stuff like that and it's like that stuff is awful and there needs to be so much more legislation as a survivor to the idea that people are having deepfakes made of them that are sexual is like not okay at all and something that like it's like anxiety inducing as well to think of that world that we could be in and there's so many awful things that are happening but I think that it's like it's a tool. I've used it as like an encyclopedia that I can ask good questions to. That's pretty much what it is to me. And it just basically made sure that I could get this done. And that's what it is to me. Like, I'm not like a super like, everybody should be writing all of their stuff on like AI. Like, trust, I don't want to at all. I learned Python myself through this whole project. Like, on the side of all of my work and my everything, I learned Python through Kaggle and all these different things. So like I care for my stuff to be done right. It's just that I have this lived experience. I just can't translate it without like I need something. So that is why I use ChatGPT. And I do think AI is a great tool. I just think that we need to like limit it significantly by like a lot in terms of what people are actually allowed to do on it, how people are actually allowed to communicate on it. There needs to be a lot of restrictions, and it needs to be like, I think we should just keep it as like a good encyclopedia or kind of situation. Like, I don't think that it should be replacing everything, especially for the amount of water that it uses. Obviously, that's like, it's really awful. And I don't need to see ugly like videos of like, it's just getting dangerous. I think how it's getting good, and the videos are really tricky. I've been tricked already by an AI video, and I didn't expect I would ever be, but it was so realistic. I was like, oh, what? And I would never think that somebody would make that on AI. I was like, why would anybody do that? But it was AI. So I don't know, it's complex. You can't hold everybody responsible all the time. Obviously, even before AI, like people will take anything to just be like kind of a D-bag. I don't know, like they'll do like people will take whatever tool, if they suck, they'll take whatever tool like available to suck. And I think that's just the nature of the world, but yeah, it sucks. I mean, like yeah, I'm not like a super like I am all for AI and like I don't care. Like I do care. That's why I went into this project with AI. So I just wanted to say that because I keep having a little bit of a conflict as I've gone through this that like AI is good. It's good, but and it can do a lot, but it's like I'm also, even though I'm using it in this context for science, like I don't think that like, I still feel tense when I see how it's being used in other places, and I am on the same AI hater like boat with everybody, and yet also I'm like it is great for stuff like this, like it is good for science, it is, but like so it's been a bit complex, so I wanted to say that and just talk about like how I feel about AI. I was thinking about, and I'm gonna start asking questions, I swear, but um I was thinking about how, it was a massive switch at some point in time for us to go from people are doing all their research on books to people are researching on the internet. So that was already a big switch there. And I remember when I was younger, which wasn't that long ago because I'm only 24, but when I was like in elementary school, technology has moved so quick that's actually insane. Like in my short life, I've seen what like the birth of like the iPhone, the iPad, the MacBook, like or like not like I remember the time that like how exciting it was for us to get like that the first time in our house, And but back when I was a kid, like, so old sounding, but back when I was a child, like we had the desktop computer. My dad had a desktop computer, and my sister and I would go and we would hang out at the desktop computer, and we'd play our games and we'd do our random searching and stuff at the desktop computer. And we just hang out there, like, for hours, whatever, doing our little stuff together. We had to share it. And then we left and we, like, went on with our day. And obviously that changed as I got older and stuff. Even I didn't have social media until I think my first social media account was when I was maybe like 12 or 13, which is pretty young actually, but even like my sister got a bit younger. She got it when she was like 9. But she didn't, it was just like silliness. Back then it was Instagram, and Instagram was like, you had the really, it was like my social media was like pictures of my cat, like, just randomness, and then you would throw on that really like cheesy filter on it. Everything was tan because I thought it looked really vintage and cool. So it was like a whole different, I think it was a whole different vibe, I would say. And it's just technology has moved really quick. But I was gonna say when I was younger, like in elementary school, and even like when I was, up to like 11, we took classes on how to type, and we would go to the computer lab at our school and they would teach us how to type. They taught us how to do good research on the internet and all this different stuff, and how to be academically honest. Everybody learns that, but we had to learn all that in class, how to use Excel, how to use Word, right? And I think that even kids that are a bit younger than me, which it's crazy. I think that like things are flying so quick in terms of how technology goes that it really is such a different energy for kids that are like kind of on the younger side now, where they have never known a world without the type of technology that we have. So, I think they already probably know how to do more stuff than we did when we were younger and know how to type and how to use social media and how to take a good selfie. Like random stuff like that that I didn't learn. It was very awkward, very like kind of cheesy early days internet when I was younger. Not even early days, I would say, like 2010s and stuff. Like it was still very cheesy and memes and Grumpy Cat and like everything. Like it was very it's almost like the little kid version of the internet. Now the internet's like a teenager, like an adult, and it's like, oh my God, it's so different. But anyways, I was like, I feel like kids should learn to use AI properly. I think that this is a thing. I think that we should also start teaching children what AI actually is. How do large language models actually work? Because I think people hear the term AI, and even, younger people, whatever, like they think that this stuff is like has like almost like a mind of its own or it's sentient. And I was even myself reading a book on how ChatGPT worked, and I was like, oh, this stuff is actually like it's just making a bunch of statistical predictions and it's just predicting like every next word, right? So it has no there's no light behind its eyes. It's not alive, it's not anything. It doesn't authentically know anything about the world. And also, if AI is going to be around, how do you actually use AI properly? Like when is it actually appropriate to use AI? We don't want a world where everybody's doing AI stuff all the time, and like it is unsustainable to the degree that we have it right now. So obviously, but I think that if more people knew how it actually worked, what it actually did, what are the limitations, then people would be less likely to do things like develop AI psychoses and things. And I think people should just be a little bit more informed if it's going to be a big part of our world. And it might not. It might be a bubble that's going to burst, as many people have predicted. There were certainly plenty of things that didn't happen that I thought were going to happen. When I was younger, I remember reading in National Geographic when I was like 11 that by 2025 we'd had flying cars. And I have not seen a flying car yet, so I feel a little bit cheated, but I do think sometimes we think things are going to happen and they just, they don't pan out the way we think because the future doesn't look how we think. And then sometimes it looks even creepier and weirder than we think. But, it could just be a bubble that's bursting already. I wouldn't mind that. I don't care per se, except for, for this stuff, it's like very important. But I just mean like, I think that people should be a little bit more informed because I just don't think the average person really has that much of a grasp on like what these things do. I definitely didn't. I still could be more informed. So yeah, I don't know. I just think like it's worth teaching kids that and teaching young adults that, maybe having some kids books or something. Cause like I hate the idea that people are going onto it and treating to AI like a therapist, like their friend, like anything. And it's like I don't think a lot of people understand what artificial intelligence means because it sounds very futuristic and it's really not. It's not like that's not what it is. It's not that smart. It is very smart at making statistical sort of outputs of things that you say, but it's not like, it's not like, yes, I am the expert. Like I showed, like it can't actually give me a theory on dissociative amnesia. It could, but doesn't mean it's going to be a good one. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like it takes a lot of you, like you steering the ship, and like I have to ask very, very pointed questions about things that are very important to me. So I'll show you like how I'm doing it, but because, like, for example, this is what I was thinking about yesterday. I'm still trying to understand my own Hopfield network. I have like a very simple one that I found online, and I've just been breaking it down and trying to figure out like where is the thing that I need, like where is it, and like how do I edit this format that's already existing in all these other things to basically be what I need it to be. So I've been going through and asking like, okay, like um I'll like if you go to the last few videos in my playlist, you can see that I was like asking like, okay, what's how do the weights work? Like, how does this look in an actual plasticity rule? And like all these different questions that I've just been trying to understand every piece essentially. So right now I'm wondering, I know that, so what I learned is that MP dot is, I think it's making this multiply by this. So noisy pattern multiplied by weights. Noisy pattern, it's interesting. There's a difference between noisy patterns, which is this, and then noisy pattern is something different, which is like down here. So for noisy pattern, so I think noisy pattern is what, like a piece of noisy patterns? While this is loading, I've also been reflecting on how I think what people actually want, maybe, and AI is giving us like almost like a band-aid solution, but it's not the best solution. Is like we want structural change and we want more resources. I wanted to be able to get into a program and actually explore neuroscience and actually like, be listened to as a survivor and have my story like kind of validated and like I wasn't able to do that through the systems that we have. So I was like, okay, well, this is like the outlet that I have for somebody to listen to me in an unbiased manner until I can do enough for somebody to actually see the value of like where I am. And so it was like I needed that resource and I needed school. If I got into a program, that would have been really what I needed from ChatGPT, someone who would listen to my questions. And then, I think everybody has some kind of resource that they're needing. Some people need less work. Some people are burnt out. They need a break. Capitalism is overwhelming. And ChatGPT lets them kind of coast out work so they can chill out. Some people need what? I think there's a lot of ways that ChatGPT is actually just filling, and like, AI is filling a bunch of it's like putting a band-aid on structural changes. Some people need therapy really bad and they can't get it because therapy is expensive. So what do? They go to ChatGPT, right? And I think it just really points to a lot of structural issues that we have that like we really need to fix like severely. And obviously, our systems are so rigid that we never fix them because it's more worth it to like just do whatever rich. Well, actually, that's not on us. It's, the wealthy are just screwing us over every single day and ruining our lives constantly. And like, so they won't change any kind of system because they just want money all the time. So it's like, okay, yeah, so we'll just cover all of that up by using like whatever we can to get those same resources because that's easier than actually changing the system. But it's like, yeah, but that's why like we're here. Um, so I think that ChatGPT like is actually kind of a band-aid solution. So I was right. Back to the science, that was accurate. So what I'm seeing then is that here is one of these times what weights this. What's interesting is that there's weights here and then there's weights here. Yeah, I've been reflecting this year a lot on AI is just a mirror of us. And I mean, it literally does just mirror us in so many different ways. And like it mirrors the user as well. It's built to mirror the user. And I think in a lot of ways, it mirrors our society and all the things. It's like it's like pointing this mirror to all our issues. It's like capitalism is horribly insane and disruptive. And we will do anything to just like, make a cheaper buck. We will destroy the arts. We will destroy like anybody's jobs. Like, you know, job people or like CEOs and stuff like they are not really people centric, all these different things. And it's like it's just putting this like really crisp mirror onto our world, and it's really scary actually. And I think that's what scares us too about AI. It scares me at least. And that's why it's like you gotta be careful with ChatGPT because I think it'll shed a really scary mirror into like, it's like, oh wow, like you're really lonely, you're scared, all this stuff. And like ChatGPT will go reinforcing all of these different beliefs about you too, which is how those delusions happen. So it's like it doesn't have a mind of its own. It's just a mirror of us and our world. That's all that it is. And, you know, I don't know. I think that's been really the scariest part of AI is just how quickly I think it's really pointed out so many different flaws in our system. Has been like pretty bizarre. And it's just really shown how I think a lot of qualities about humans that I don't think we wanted to see. This is kind of a kookier thought, but I think it's pretty interesting how more and more people are getting behind this idea that like the world is a mirror of us. And I just think that we've been getting so many more mirrors in our world. Like I think the internet is a mirror, social media is a mirror, I think AI is a mirror. And I just think that we just have generated these mirrors into our world, like into like what's going on deep down. I find that really interesting, like again in a world where it's getting very popular, the idea that the our society or like the world is a mirror of our mind. Kind of a more like crazy thought, but I was just like, yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. I don't think that we always see them as the mirrors that they are, but I do think that we've generated quite a lot of mirrors like as we've gone along. And it has made us more socially aware in a way, but it's also made it like I think it's generated this feeling of this unsettled feeling of like, oh wow, the world is really dark and distorted in ways that we weren't able to sort of see all the time in the past. And I think the average person wasn't so aware as they are now, and it's a bit painful. I think we're all painfully aware in a lot of ways, and I just think we get more mirrors over time into like what's really going on. Like, I think this current dictatorship has been a weird kind of mirror of what's going on underneath at my own country in the US. I think sort of pointed a mirror to the country and like been like, okay, this is what we are actually like on the inside, and this is like all the corruption, all the raw, all the everything that like makes us like it's a foundation for us. Like you can see the corruption, the military, like I don't know if you've seen the military spending recently, it's been insane. That what they did is that they had like certain amounts of money left over and they just spent all of it on like randomness, like lobster tails and like trays and like all this crazy stuff. Let me see if I can find it. I just think this has been a very mirror-esque time, like a massive like mirror into our world has been pretty insane. I think that's actually like I'm not trying to be all like, oh, whatever about it, but just it's reflecting on society. I think that's really making I think that's making people pretty like afraid. I think it's making politicians afraid. I don't think they've ever like I don't think we've ever had such a look into like what's going on politically the way that we do now. It's been pretty intense. The amount of information that we have, the Epstein files have definitely been a mirror of our government. And here we go. Yeah, they've been spending that. They blew millions on lobster, steak, grand piano, handmade Japanese flute. Yeah. They also did $3,000 of children's stickers, which I found I actually think that's really creepy. And like the Epstein, wake of the Epstein files, anything children with the government, I'm like, ew, what's that about? That's really creepy. The Apple Store. And we can also see how much Donald Trump made on this election. I mean, this whole thing. Elon Musk as well. Let's call Elon Musk out. He's 100. This is actually now last year. So that was only in the like months since that. $170 billion richer since endorsing Trump. Let's think about that. That's pretty insane, isn't it? That was a year ago, and it's gone up since then. Look how much it went up like over time. November it was 70 billion richer, and then you get May, it was 170 billion richer. $100 billion, think that's ridiculous. Let's see if we can find a recent one. Let's see if we can find 2026. Let's look at their net worths. Donald Trump's net worth has gone up significantly since he started his presidency as well. Do you see how much it's gone up? I don't even think this is like a good picture of it. This was when was Trump elected? 2020. It was 2024, so like probably around here, and then he didn't really start his presidency till around 2025. So look how much it's gone up in that. This chart is very misleading in reality because this is 2025 and this is 2026, but they've positioned it like it's a 5-year difference and it's not. So in actuality, if you were to crunch it, it would be like this, way up like that. That's how it would actually be if you were to actually make that chart accurate because it's actually incredibly misleading. I don't mean chart, I mean graph. It's a very misleading graph. So I think that's all definitely a mirror look. This actually should be like this. Like this crunch right here, this whole thing right here should be a 1 year. So it should be like here. So this is actually how much they made in a single year. How and why, right? When there's not enough money for anything that the people would need, right? There's not enough money for NPR, and there's not enough money for education, there's not money for anything. But where's this money coming from, right? That's the real question. Yeah, I don't know. I just think this is probably the craziest mirror into our world that into the world of the United States, particularly that we've ever gotten. Also the UK, but I haven't been as invested in that because I'm not from the UK. But I just think that we have never seen so clearly what's going on beneath the surface, and I think it's been a real reckoning. For world's first trillionaire. These people are absolute idiots. I don't see them as intelligent people. I see them as nefarious. To be honest with you, it actually irks me. I find them very creepy and also lame. Like I don't find them cool. I think the way that they act is like really I don't know how to put it into words. Like I just find them pretty pathetic. I'm gonna be dead honest with you. But anyways. All right, hello again. I'm in such a good mood right now because I haven't used Instagram in like forever. Like I literally like I haven't posted a picture of myself on Instagram in like 3 years. And I also like I just don't use social media that much other than YouTube. I just feel like it's improved like my mental sanity and my focus and stuff. So I don't use social media, but I did like to post the occasional post back in the day. And then I hadn't been on in so long that I genuinely forgot like I forgot how to get into my account, and I'd been trying for the longest time so that I could go see my sister's photography page. And I was finally able to get on my Instagram, and I went and I stalked all my friends because I hadn't seen their wait, I have more friends to stalk actually. But I was stalking my friends and I was like, "Oh my gosh, my friends are so cute." And that put me in such a good mood to start this off on. Like I was like, my friends. Some of my friends I haven't seen in so long, and it just like it reminded me that like I know people and people exist. Shout out to my friends for real. Just to show you how random this has been and how solo of a project this has been. My best friends from college, first of all, most of them like have we haven't gotten to talk a lot of us. Three of my best friends from college, we did PowerPoint night like once a month for almost like a year and a half or so. We would meet like oh more than that. We would meet every single month and we would do a PowerPoint of like our month, and we would show everything that we've done. And this is so crazy, but we were doing PowerPoint night up until like last summer, and then we dropped off like at the one of our very last PowerPoint nights, or maybe our last one. I actually explained my project, and since then we haven't gotten to do PowerPoint night. So this whole entire like craziness, like this whole story plot line, like they know nothing of this. I have like two friends that I interact with consistently that are not from my university. None of my friends from university, like they don't like we have not spoken about this, and it's like this is the most intense and dramatic thing that's ever happened in my life, and we stopped talking right before like not stopped talking, but like I have not gotten to tell them like yeah, so I have a supervisor and like I'm building a hop field now. Like they know nothing. So it's been kind of funny, and we've tried to have PowerPoint night, it hasn't worked. I'll show you on my PowerPoint the last thing that my friend saw. And I'm really like, I can't wait to be like, hey guys, so I actually published a paper, and like this, like I was a comparative literature and society student, so I was a humanities student. Like I've been looking forward to the day that I'm just like I said in the group chat like, "Hey guys, this is my paper and I'm doing like a whole computational model." They're going to be like, "What are you talking about?" So, yeah, that's going to be interesting because I really haven't spoken to them in so long. And I mentioned this, but they don't even know like cuz I at that point I was just doing it on my own. Like I was just doing it for myself. So, like I don't know like they obviously like don't there was no thought in their mind about it, but it's like it's been the biggest thing of my life. Actually, for all of us, we dropped off and like I've missed so much. One of my friends got into a relationship and I just barely got to hear about her starting to get into the relationship, and I haven't heard like where are my updates? Like I tried, all of us have tried, but we just like my friend is in grad school, like she's done grad school all year. One of my other friends ended grad school. So she's been like post grad. She one of my best friends, she's also a psychology person. And yeah, I'm like, bro, I've been doing this whole entire thing. Like we haven't even gotten to speak, which has been insane. But I'll show you like the last thing I showed my friends. Like it's funny because it was just so out of the blue. Like it was like, yeah, so I've been trying to work on my habits. Yeah, so I'm having trouble with my job. Yeah, so I started this random project. Like it was like it went growing like that. And then they kind of like it stopped there. I feel like they've missed the most plot. Like actually there's nothing to even this is the funny thing is that it's actually been the most intense plot point of my whole life. This was 7 months ago. The funny thing is this has been the most plot like thick plot point of my life, but like it hasn't been like easy to explain it to people. So it's just it's kind of fun, but also kind of weird. Like I can't really like transmute this to people. So here we have my March. This was when I started the project. So I don't know like what I said. Like I'm sure I mentioned it. Let's see what I've mentioned to my friends. This is everything that my friends from college know, the ones that I speak to. This is everything that they've heard about this most absolutely insane thing that I've ever done in my whole life. This it's crazy because I truly don't talk to people about this entire thing at all. Like my parents, like sometimes I'll mention it, but like they have no like sense of what this is in the slightest. Like they don't like, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, that's cool. But it's like this has been the most absolutely insane thing that's ever happened to me. And like I just feel like nobody, like I don't talk to anybody about it. My March has been kind of a blur. And I spoke about all the kids that I nannied. It was somebody's birthday party. Still haven't heard anything except a rejection from Kings. Kings, why? I tried. I started a YouTube channel. This was like I told them like I started a YouTube channel. Actually, I hadn't even March is when I started. I hadn't even mentioned it. So much work buying new things. I got my first big girl purse. That was really exciting to me. See, oh, and then here we go, media of the month, and we have surfing uncertainty. So they got the sneak peek in March. I was like, surfing uncertainty was the sneak peek. Then we didn't meet for like a long time. We get to my few months because we hadn't met for like a few months. This was 7 months ago, so this is probably like late summer or like midsummer. My few months. When I tell you, bro, nobody knows. Like, I'm literally about to like finish this insane paper that's like, how do you even know this? Like, what? You're not even a. It's actually crazy, but it's like nobody like. It's not. Nobody has had a crazy reaction to this at all. Like, I tell people this like from time to time, and like nobody thinks this is weird, and I'm like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever done, and like nobody's like, what? It's just like, oh, okay, like you get me. So it's kind of crazy. And yeah, I'm so close to done. I have like a lot to add. This is when I got a new job. And then here we go, my personal project. So this is what I mentioned to them. And this is like everything that they got to see essentially. I was telling them like about like I don't even remember how I explained it. I don't know if anybody like I'm sure they listened, but it was like kind of random. So I was actually already writing like this was how many papers that I had. And yeah, that's everything that they know. Like they haven't heard any updates. So it's kind of funny because it's like it's been like the most insane thing ever, but like nobody knows. And then my media that month. I never finished My Lady Jane. I forgot. I was reading The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House and watching The Summer I Turned Pretty. So I actually was pretty into my project by then because I remember this era now. Anyways, yeah. So I was just talking to my friends and just being like, what? Actually, like I feel like a lot of people in my life like don't know like my full story. So it's pretty interesting. Like a lot of my family members don't even know like everything that happened in undergrad. Actually, like nobody knows. I never really like spoke about it. It was very like a private thing that happened to me. And obviously none of them know about this because like why would I tell them this? I have people that like I spoke to and like they'd never I don't know. It's like nobody really this has been such a like I don't know. This has been such a random thing and it's like it's genuinely just me doing this and it's been so insane like what and yeah again it's like it seems on the surface like I'm not like I don't know, it just doesn't really translate to people, I guess. So it's kind of funny because this has been the most intense journey of my life and like I feel like nobody really knows about it or like knows the story that much sometimes. So it's pretty funny. I did actually send my friends into the group chat. Now I'm remembering that like I I sent them my first little thing about sharp wave ripples. Like I was when I had finished my ChatGPT model and I saw that like it worked. I sent that to them in our group chat, but they weren't like I mean, they were like super hyped for me, but I don't think like it's not like I don't know. I haven't updated like anything since then, so it's kind of just some random thing I was doing. I feel like I've changed so much in this time period, and I feel like everyone has to get to know me again. Not even in a bad way, but I feel like my whole personality has shifted in this period of time. And I'm just like a whole different person, which is pretty insane. Like I'm literally doing science and stuff. And also I was so mentally ill during college as well. And I feel like that it just impacted my personality. I was very like woo-woo spiritual girl who loved tarot cards and like astrology and all this like I was kind of like artsy. I don't know. Like I just was like a whole different vibe. I don't know what my vibe is now. My vibe now is hard work and determination and getting this project done and being sciencey. And I haven't really had a chance to like let me like get new outfits and like do all this stuff. So it's kind of funny. I feel like I'm in this liminal space with my personality where I've changed a lot, but I haven't really been interacting with people and stuff to like I feel like the people you're around shape you and like shape your personality. So it's like I haven't really had the chance to bounce off other people, so it's kind of interesting. Like I've been in this really interesting place. But with that in mind, I'm not refilming at all, but I was reading, I thought that it was going to be a massive hassle basically to fix some stuff in like my paper. But I actually have been finding that a lot of things that I thought were going to be like a big push to explain were actually really, really well backed already. I just needed to read those newer papers. I was really struggling before to find newer papers on acetylcholine, and then I did find them, and that really changed. Like I was reading today, and that really changed my relationship to this project, because I was like, oh, I don't have to do as much work as I thought. And some things that I thought were like really hard, that were just going to be hard work, like aren't going to be the hard work I thought they were. I just need to add some papers. And the cool thing about knowing this now and seeing these papers is that I can just speak with more certainty when I write my literature review. Like, for example, I was nervous that I was struggling to find these newer papers on hippocampal acetylcholine. So I was like, I was like, am I like backing this well enough? Like, is this like a strong, like a measured relationship? And then I found that in this paper, they were speaking about it with like a lot of certainty. Like they were saying that like it's well known that acetylcholine, like hippocampal acetylcholine, is seen after stress. There just things like that that I was like, I think there's a strong connection, but they're saying like that is a connection. You get me? So that makes it easier for me because I don't have to sit around and defend myself. I can just with certainty say like, yes, acetylcholine goes up after stress. So that made me really happy. And like, so we could confirm, well, they were also confirming stuff in this paper. We could confirm that centrally increase in acetylcholine levels is associated with a dramatic behavioral change in stress experience, but not control animals. Like here, so since stress elevates hippocampal acetylcholine levels, like it's the fact that they said this with like 100% certainty. I thought that I wasn't like that wasn't very certain. So I was kind of nervous about that. Like I was like, oh, it seems like people just kind of dropped off on it, but then they are they are saying that yes, that's a thing. And they're also citing a paper from 1996, which makes me feel better about using those papers. And they're speaking with a lot of certainty of using that paper. Get me? So that makes me happy because it means it's not going to be as hard as I thought. And I also started seeing other things like it's funny because I'll go back to my old papers and I'll have read more. So like I basically like I have like a secondary theory as to why that acetylcholine is up after stress that I wasn't finding like backed per se at first, like just through searching papers, but a lot of papers already mention like septohippocampal SO input. And like I was going back to old papers today and they were actually referencing like the septohippocampal relationship. And I didn't know these words back then. So I think it's just like there's just a lot more that's going to make my literature review much stronger and it's going to allow me to speak with more certainty. So that makes me happy because I don't have to sit around being like, even though there's not that much evidence, I do think that this and this and that. Like I can just like cut through the fluff. So that makes me feel a lot better. And it also just backs the other idea that I had about why that post stress effect is happening. And they mentioned themselves the post stress effect that I was looking for. And I was getting really nervous that I wasn't finding. So I'm finding a few different papers that talk about that. And that's making me feel like a lot better. Yeah. So, but I need to make sure it's the same septo-hippocampal that I'm thinking of like the medial septum. I assume so because that's the research that I did. But yeah, so I'm finding that in lots of different papers. So that makes me feel like I'm doing a lot better than I think. And this is going to be like once I'm done with the method, I think it's going to be like very like bam, 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 actually, because like now I'm just really on a roll now that I'm finishing up this part. I'm going to show like, I think in the next, I'm going to finish my Hopfield network, but I think I'm also going to start moving some new papers into my final draft soon because actually that means like this is all very well back now. It's like very strong. I'm actually proud of myself. This relationship is very strong and it's just getting stronger the more that I read. I think the more I'm getting informed about terms that I didn't even know, like if I were to learn actually understand what glutamatergic, whatever, however you say it, like if I understood like that and how that worked, I could probably explain this even better. But like I taught myself like all this I taught myself. So like I'm not coming from a neuroscience bachelor's background, master's background. So I actually have to teach myself stuff. And so that's what's crazy. And then like I go in and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know what that meant. But now I'm seeing that it's like in my papers a lot. And so like now I get it. So it's kind of crazy. But I was like, I feel like if I just knew more like more terms, I could do this even better. Or at least it'd be a faster process. So yeah, it's been really funny to like go back to my papers. So this is what I have so far. I have about 6,000 words already written, and I need to have 10,000 for my school paper, and I haven't even written like the method section. So this is already pretty ready to go. Here's where I'm going to talk about like all this post-stress stuff, and that's going to get edited as well. And then we have like it's just really moving quick now, I think. The neuromodulators suppress the production of hippocampals. And then here the method, this is probably the rule that's going to go in here. And then there's going to be a section on. So I'm just going along and editing it as I go. And I'm going to try to edit it more like now that I'm reading more papers. I want to just read, but I have a paper due on Monday that's worth 70% of my grade for that class. So I have to lock in on that. It's kind of torturous to have to do all these random psychology papers while I'm like finishing this absolutely massive paper that it's like, what? And I'm like I'm definitely going to go more into neuroscience after my program is done. I just haven't figured out like what my path is going to be forward, but like obviously I'm going this way. So I'm writing a paper right now on dose response and stuff like that, and it's obviously still super good skills, but it's just like it sucks because I'm like I want to it just sucks to break away from like this world where it's like okay, now I have to write a psychology paper and I'm like I don't want to. But obviously I'm still happy to like happy to be in my master's program. But anyways, yeah, so yeah. So this is everything here. And it's pretty like it's already so solid. Like it's really close to done. I think that's like what I've been processing today. Like I'm really close to done. This is almost done. Is insane. Because I've been working on this for so long. It's been almost a year now. Like I'm about 9 days away from this being a full year of me working on this. I actually might learn like just something really quick just because I'm really inspired today, I think, to work. Let's open up my Hopfield network. So here's my Hopfield network. And last time I figured out where this recurrent excitation thing is happening, and I was learning last time like what all the different parts mean. What I'm still not understanding is the weights, which is so funny because that's the bulk of this, but I'm just not fully understanding like how is this how is this like complex enough? I don't think I fully understand the weights at all. There's just something not clicking for me. Okay, so this part right here it learns a memory. That actually helped me a lot. So this learns a memory, and then at this part, it's remembering the memory. So iterations are like the same thing as recall. So this is recall right here. Let's look at the loop and just see how it works. So for I noisy pattern in enumerate noisy patterns. So for each noisy pattern inside this list noisy patterns, while iteration is under the max, so until it gets to 5, add one of these, I think, and then previous pattern equals. So it copies the pattern. Is that right? And then it takes noisy pattern. What is NP sign? That's like another question. What is NP sign? Let's see if we can find it online. Okay, wait, it has it here. Ah. So this is, I guess, what's making the pattern. So if x is more than 0, -1, If x equals 0, 0. If x is more than, wait, if x is under 0, -1. If x is over 0, 1. It's kind of a lot to remember. So this is multiplying. We're gonna make like one underneath. That's kind of like, it's like the explanation. So I'm just writing like how I understand this. All right. So here's where we get to what I don't know. So something, 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 like a pattern set. We're gonna fill this in. And then we have here, so noisy pattern becomes either -1 or 1, depending on noisy patterns. So I think that this is a place that ChatGPT says that I'm gonna be like modifying it. So this is really, really like the recall part right here. So noisy patterns, this is when I think it's making the matrix. So noisy pattern becomes either -1 or 1, depending on this noisy pattern times weights in a matrix, which I can visualize, but I don't know. And then I'll come back to that. And then what is NP array equal? So if two arrays have the same shape and element, false. Oh, true if two arrays have the same shape and element. If not, it's false. Let's make like I might make a little like a vocab list down here so I can remember all of these. So NP dot, it makes like a matrix, like multiplying one input times another input. I think if I'm remembering that right. Then we have, what else? NP, what's the other one we learned? NP sign makes, that's what this does. I'm guessing because they're going to be multiplying times each other or something, and then it's like translating all of that into like the same patterns from the matrix that like the way that it should be. Not every single like thing uses this, but this one's very simple, so it's kind of nice because then I can just translate it into other ones later. Like I was learning that that init thing is like it makes a category. I'm thinking this just makes a copy of whatever is in there, but I might be wrong. It returns an array copy of the given object. I don't fully understand that, so I'm gonna ask again here. So it makes a copy of an array. So A is NP array 1, 2, 3. B equals A, and then A and B are the same data. So I'm so confused. Example with NP copy. A equals NP array 1, 2, 3. B equals NP copy of A. So if you make it 0, it equals 99. Oh, oh, they're just changing the first part of the list. So it just shows that you can copy exactly the same thing, but with like something changed. Okay, that wasn't really that hard, but for some reason it felt hard to me. So, okay, so MP copy just makes a copy of the array that is separate from the original. I feel like I've been getting worse at spelling throughout this process. I'm like, humanity's brain shut down. Do not engage anymore. Like, we don't know how to read and we don't know how to write. What else? NP sign. Did I already get? Yes, I got NP sign, NP copy, NP dot. Those are kind of the main ones. What is NP array equal? We do have more. NP zeros just makes like a box of like a matrix of nothingness, I think, from what I remember. Yeah, so it's just an array of given shape and style filled with zeros. NP reshape. There's so many different ones to learn. NP reshape gives a new shape to the array without changing its data. One thing I feel like ChatGPT and like AI and stuff, it's good for giving like a simpler version of something that kind of is confusing to me. I don't know. I feel like sometimes people really overcomplicate it with their descriptions, or they target it towards somebody with like a higher level of understanding. And I think sometimes like that's the main thing that I've used ChatGPT for throughout this is like, can you please explain it to me in a way that I understand? It's crazy how this seems so complex to me in the beginning, and now it's starting to seem so simple. That's like the best part of learning. It's just that moment where it's like, oh, okay, all of this just seems so easy to me now. it doesn't seem fully easy per se, but it's like, okay, this isn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be, is like a good feeling. One of the best parts of this project has just been having control over how I learn because sometimes like I just think that the problem with school is that it's not always like everybody's brain works so different and sometimes people explain stuff where it's like I don't like for example, I think I'm a very hands-on learner and if you were to just I mean, I think now that I have like I've less of a blockage to it, I think if I learned this in class, like it wouldn't be as hard for me. But I will say that it's much I had a harder time understanding Hopfield networks when I watched a video on it. But being able to just spend some time each day breaking them apart myself and asking questions on each piece has been such a good way for me to learn this. I think sometimes school it's like you're just giving me information on like a slide and it's like it's really hard to learn that way, I think. So that's what has been really nice about this project is just letting myself learn how my brain works. Oh, okay, I wasn't understanding the I wasn't understanding like these things, but now I see that I think it just makes like two and two. So it just changes the matrix. I'm gonna put like a little section here explaining that. So there's a way to make like a an explanation. I just forget how to. I'm confused why they did this though, because it seems like it turned the this into exactly the same thing as it was before, but that's a question for later. We did, it's okay. MP dot, MP sign, MP copy, MP zeros, MP reshape. Now, NP array equal. I don't think we got that one yet. Oh, right. NP array equal. We were in the middle of that and I got sidetracked. Let's see the context. Okay, so if NP array equal is, so if this is true, break. So if this is true, then don't do anything. Why would it ever be false? So if the two arrays have the same shape, so that would prevent it from making like a random matrix where it's like one random thing is like just off, I think. Okay, so this is our little like our little list of definitions. There might be more, but I don't think so. I think that's everything. NP fill diagonal, but I'll get that in a second. So now I see arrays, making arrays. That like cleared up a lot of stuff. It's crazy how something as simple as this can do something so insane, which is mimic human memory and learn images and stuff. Like coding is pretty insane because there's so much you can do with like so little. I don't know. I have like a lot of different questions, but this is becoming increasingly simple, and that'll be nice because next I'm gonna go again into a more complex one and learn even more. So I'm gonna learn like in it. It's probably not called in it, but to me it is in it. I was thinking today how like in it is such a good name for it because it's making a category. First, it's like what's in it. Get it? Because it's a category. That's really bad, but and also it's like in it, like isn't that it? Like oh yeah, that's what it is. Okay, nobody asked for that, but I'm sorry. Anyways, I was like that's a good way to remember it for me at least. So previous pattern is just it's a copy of noisy pattern. Where is noisy pattern? So noisy patterns. Where is noisy pattern? Actually, I've had that question a few different. Okay, it's just a piece of noisy patterns. So it's just like this. It's just a piece. And my another question I have is how does it know to go through like every single thing in the list? I think that's just a Python like lack of Python knowledge, but it's like why doesn't it just do like one random one? Like it knows to make the whole matrix at once. But anyway, so it takes noisy pattern, so that one line in noisy patterns, and then it copies. So previous pattern is just a copy of that. And then noisy pattern is gonna be what's I don't think we got MPs. Oh wait, we did. So one of these numbers from this matrix of noisy pattern, which is one thing of why isn't it kind of crazy to have like noisy pattern inside the parentheses, but this is noisy pattern? Like, doesn't that How does that work? Doesn't that make it like redundant? Anyways, let's just finish explaining this code. So if they have, so if previous pattern, I think previous pattern is taking like this one and continuously multiplying it by the other one. Maybe that's how it's making the full matrix. I'm assuming it would print both. So this is like kind of the how this works, I think. So for each pattern set in the list of patterns called noisy patterns, try to process it again until you reach 5 times processing it. So let's do previous pattern. So previous pattern is a copy of a pattern set in noisy patterns. This is also really good Python practice for me. Anyways, noisy pattern becomes either -1 or 1 depending on noisy pattern times weights in the matrix. Okay, so weights, this is where I think it's going to get changed. So this is like, I think this is the important part is the weights, because this is how it's learning the picture. Like this is how it's learning how to how to make the thing. So I think that's really the important part. There we go. Because we're going to come back down here and it's going to help us learn how to add the recurrent excitation, add the acetylcholine. So yeah, this is the explanation. They wrote this down here. I don't know why this is here. This wasn't written by me. This was written by the creator of this code. I think I wrote this loops thing. I don't think I wrote this distance thing. Distances equals empty sum. I don't know why that's there, but all right. I'm low-key ending there for now because I feel like I actually made pretty good progress in how I'm like understanding this. And I've mentioned this in other videos, but I don't actually like to work for like super long periods of time if I'm learning something complex, especially because I like to let my brain soak in the information. And I feel like I actually cover more ground that way because I don't know. I just feel like I learn it deeper over like the course of like a few days and like keep my brain fresh and I keep myself like hype to learn more versus I feel like if you learn for like 10 hours like you're just not even being that effective. So sometimes I really just learn like 1 hour, 2 hours, but like very consistently like every day. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for now also because it's like it's getting kind of long to edit, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm so close to done. It's actually insane. Like, I don't think I can process it, but I have 1 week left in class. And then after that, it's just my job, studying for finals and stuff, and then this. So I think at that point, like, it's really going to go by really quick. Yeah, I hope you feel inspired to learn today. Um, have a great day.